A new phone, a puppy, 3D tokens, increased credit limits. What do these have in common? You're about to find out. Welcome to Tabletop Shop.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tabletop Shop. I am one of your hosts, Nate Clark, and seated across the city from me is your other...
It's the room.
Yes.
For the foreseeable future.
Okay, fine. The room. No. All right, everybody knows. That's fine.
Hi, I'm Cody.
And he's seated across the room from me.
Nice to see you guys.
We are talking about board games today. This is the Tabletop Shop podcast that you are listening to, where Cody and Nate sit down and we discuss all things board games. Well, not all things, but very many things
Most
board games.
things board games.
Yes, at least 7 things board game related. And today we will be going over our games of the week, as always, and then we will be talking about one game in particular in depth, and then we will move into our board banter section of the podcast, which is kind of just, could be any topic. You don't know what it's going to be. If you listen to the intro, you might have a pretty good guess at what it is. But yeah, so we are glad you guys are listening. We hope you enjoy the episode. So, Cody.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about the games we played this week.
Sounds good. You want to go first?
Sure.
You want me to go first?
Well,
or you want to go first?
I feel like last week our performance was pretty poor as far as the amount of games we played, and I'm kind of par for the course again here. So,
come on, man.
I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
And then hopefully you can finish better than I start.
Wait, are you saying that you only played 2 games again, or less than that?
I only played 2. Yeah. So
pathetic.
One of the games I played this week was Kemet, which is kind of an old game at this point, relatively. Actually, I don't know. It's not that old. I believe, I want to say 2013 could be correct. But I feel like when a second edition of a game comes out, it automatically just makes the first edition old.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a second edition.
Yeah, so Kemet Blood and Sand came out maybe 2 years ago, tops. Maybe it might have been probably at least 2 years ago.
I thought that was an expansion.
No. It's a
silly boy.
It's a total second edition. So I feel like once the second edition comes out, it makes the first one just old by definition. So I have the old version of Kemet. It's still a good game though. Still a very good game. Egyptian themed war game that is. Well, okay, it's not like one of those math crunchy numbers war games, but it's a dudes on a map, I guess you would say, kind of war game that is deterministic combat, which is awesome, and it has all these different upgrades you can buy for your troops and all these different special abilities you can get, and you can get all these monsters and stuff, and then you're trying to get points, actually, which is a pretty uncommon thing for kind of fighting type games. But you're trying to kind of control areas and defeat other armies and get enough points to win the game.
You know I like point-based games.
Yeah, well, you've played Kemet, right? Didn't we play a two-player game?
Yeah, just once.
Yeah, what'd you think of it?
I won, so it was pretty fun.
Actually, was that my very first time? No, I think I played it once before I taught it to you.
I think so. That's why it was even more humiliating for you. I don't remember the scores, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
It was pretty fun. I enjoyed that a lot more than Battle Lore. What a garbage game.
Well, that's a bold statement.
Let's see how much damage I can do. Oh, I rolled a 1. Oops.
They're definitely different games. Actually, I played Memoir 44. I feel like I forgot to mention it. I played it a few weeks ago, actually. Definitely after we started doing the podcast, which is what Battle Lore is based on. But Memoir 44 is like a World War II themed version of it. And also, it's very annoying. It's like it has the same dice-based combat system where it's like, I'm attacking you with this, and I rolled nothing that helps me, so I miss.
Whoops.
And sometimes it's like, okay, well, it's war, and you're firing a gun at someone. There's a good chance that you could just completely miss. Even if you're really close.
But that would be your fault, not like the gun decided to, on a 16% chance, see if it's going to hit or not.
True. I mean, yes, that's true. This isn't like Morrowind combat, but
You failed casting the spell.
Sometimes you're like point blank range with a tank and you miss, and it's like, all right, listen. Come here. Listen, dice. Come on.
This is stupid.
But there are no dice in Kemet, And actually, the combat system in Scythe is based on the combat system in Kemet loosely. So
that's right.
yeah, pretty cool. And it's a unique combat system. So great game. The other game I played is Dune Imperium, including the Rise of Ix expansion.
Yes.
Phenomenal game. Absolutely love that game.
Did you pull out those dreadnoughts?
Actually, I did not get a dreadnought, but my dad got 2 dreadnoughts in that game, and he lost. So,
well,
actually,
okay, that
what
says
was
a lot
funny
for the
about
dreadnoughts, I guess.
What was funny about it was that Reagan, who was my little brother, he had 1 point, while everybody else had like 4 and 5, and he actually ended up winning the game, which was pretty crazy. He got a lot of points over the span of like 2, maybe 3 rounds. So, yeah, it was fun. I think he won with 12, and I had 11. Yeah, it was a good game.
Oh, that's close.
Dune Imperium's a fun game, obviously based on the Dune IP. It's a worker placement game and a deck builder at the same time, and they are integrated very, very well, in my opinion. The cards kind of have double use, so if you use them in conjunction with a worker, they do something. If you save them for later, they do something else. And then there's kind of a combat phase later on where you kind of are sending troops into a battle. And then the Rise of Ix expansion just adds in like technologies and different stuff. Yeah, it's just phenomenal game, phenomenal expansion. And I'm excited for the expansion that should be apparently available before Christmas this year, which I believe it was last year.
That
also.
early?
Yeah, that's what they said.
So just don't order it through like a third-party board game shop and then get it a year later.
Here's the thing. So last time I ordered the Rise of Ix expansion through a local board game store, which I was like, hey, I want to support the local guy, right? So I pre-ordered it through them. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically I didn't get the game till way later, and it turned out that they had it, and they said they didn't, or they thought they didn't, and all this stuff. And I was just like, man, this is just, like, I want to support the brick and mortar guys, but it's like, you guys just, they just, I don't know. I had a bad experience.
So you're saying they're not getting a shout out from us?
Certainly not, but I won't publicly embarrass them either. I won't point them out.
Okay,
but
good
let's just say
ground.
that I pre-ordered it online this time. So.
Well played. I guess that makes 2, isn't it? I can count
1, 2.
So that's all you played this week, Nate.
Yes,
Just embarrassing. Don't remind me of this someday when I've only played 2 games.
I was just going to guess that maybe that was now, but apparently not.
Actually, no. You want to hear what's really sad? So I keep track of how many games I play each month, as inspired by you. I don't know if you still do that.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm still doing it. I think my biggest month has been like 61 games played in a month. I'm going to say
you're below 25 this month.
Well, last month, so this is October, but in September, the total was like 9. It was like the worst month I've ever had.
Plays or games?
Plays.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was sad. I think I'm at October just started. I'm at like five plays at this point.
Oh, okay. Well,
so yeah, I'm
you
doing
play
better.
digital too, though, so you kind of.
I do.
Yeah, if you're counting digital,
then
there's going to be some more.
Which I want to explore Tabletopia more. It sounds like they have paid options, but there are some games they offer that you can just play for free, like Architects of the West Kingdom. That's free to play on there.
Huh.
Anyway, I played. Let's see. First thing I played was Wingspan. 2 games of that digitally, of course. That turned out pretty well. Wingspan is a dank game, folks. One of my favorite games. I'm not actually. Let's see if it's in my top 10.
I would assume so.
Yeah, it's number 4. It didn't used to be. Well, maybe it did. Anyway, it's a good game, guys. If you like birds are fun. Well, in this game, it's some people will say that this is a tableau builder, and it's not really that. I've heard it described more as an action efficiency game or action selection. I think that is closer to it, because every turn you just have 4 different actions you're working on, and the tableau building aspect does come from where you can slowly play bird cards down next to those different actions, or at least 3 of those 4 actions, and potentially those will make your actions more powerful, both by making the action itself more powerful, but then sometimes you can activate those new birds that you put down and they do cool things. So yeah, as we talked about last episode, would not make for a great movie adaptation because it's just birds.
Absolutely
but it plays super well.
Yeah.
I think I have over 100 plays of that game.
That's crazy
so far,
dude.
Mostly from digital edition. It's such a good game. The Asia expansion has been recently announced. We got more cards. We got a cooperative mode or something?
Has there ever been a new mechanism introduced into that game? It has like 3 expansions now, right?
No, just 2 expansions so far. Asia is going to be the 3rd one.
Yeah.
I
guess they're introducing cooperative, so that's not really a new mechanism, but it is kind of a not just cards, right?
I saw some like screenshots from it. It looks like they add quite a few components. I don't really know what's going on. But the Oceania expansion does add some mechanisms because it adds the nectar. Have we played?
No.
We haven't played that yet. Dang. Okay. So it introduces nectar as a new resource. There's 5 other food items. Nectar's the 6th one. It basically functions as a wild, so you can use it to fill any single cost of a card that you need. And then some of the cards that the game introduces, or Oceania introduces, specifically need nectar as a specific requirement for food. But then it has this other parallel thing where depending on where you use the nectar, so if you use nectar to play a bird into your middle region, you place that nectar token to the left of your board on a new little slot. And there's 3 of those for each of the 3 slots that you can work on. And whoever has played the most nectar into a given slot at the end of the game gets, I think it's 5 points, and then the runner-up gets 2 points. So it's kind of a new basic objective system that's introduced. So yeah, it's different for sure. I will say though, I don't really like playing with the nectar. It kind of breaks the game a little bit for me because then it shifts your focus, and every time nectar gets rolled in the bird feeder, it's like you just have to take it, even if you don't want it or you don't really use it. You just have to take it from someone else.
And so resources are scarce.
They are, yes. And since nectar is a wild, that can help, but it was just kind of too powerful, and it made the game actually less interesting for me, even though I think you could probably get a higher scoring game out of it.
Right, but it's not as tight, and so it doesn't feel strategic, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost like Viscounts of the West Kingdom, where it just gives you one strategy to do, and you just have to do it to win. Just fill the castle.
Well, but it's not really a strategy. It's just like, hey, here's a little bonus thing that makes the game easier, right?
Sure.
In Viscounts, it's like, if you focus on this, you will probably do very well. Whereas this nectar thing, it's like, hey, here's something that's kind of available to everyone, and you don't have to, it's not a strategy. Well, it's just something that makes the game easier, kind of.
Not just easier, but again, there's competition for whoever has played the most nectar at the end of the game is going to get more points.
Well, but that's just points, right? Because really, it seems like what it is really adding is kind of this wild resource that helps you to be a little more flexible.
Sure.
But I don't know because I haven't played.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wild resource that definitely helps you, but it then demands all the attention of every time there's any food or any nectar in the bird feeder. It's like you have to take it, nothing else. But
well, this is not the Wingspan
enough
podcast,
about
Cody.
That. Hey, you spent a bunch of time talking about Kemet, you punk. I can talk about Wingspan if I want. But good point. Let's move on to Mysterium. I played that. You played that for the first time recently.
Just with 3 people,
right?
though.
Yeah. Which apparently we found out we played wrong, because if you play with 3 people, 2 of those people are supposed to play as 2 players, and then the 5th person is the ghost is normal. But yeah, Mysterium is fun. A lot of abstract art in that game. Sort of a silent communication game where one person plays as the ghost, and it's a cooperative game, and you're trying to get all the other players to figure out who killed you as the ghost, and you're trying to point them to persons, locations, and murder weapons, but the only way you can point your players towards those items is with these abstract vision cards that you just have a random hand of that you can give a certain amount, I think 1 to 7 on your turn to each player.
To give people a point of reference, I believe it's made by the same company that made Dixit.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of art, basically.
Just weird art.
Yeah.
And the cards are interchangeable, right? Like you can use Dixit cards.
Yeah, I mean,
Mysterium.
because it's just art, right? So
weird art.
Yeah.
Weird abstract art. So yeah, that was Mysterium. I played that. Pulled out a game of King Domino with my wife 2 nights ago. I have not played that in a long time.
It's a solid little game. I like it. I like it a lot.
Especially with 2-player games, because then you can build the 7x7 grid instead of the 5x5. That's fun to go through the whole thing. It was a tight game. The winning score was 130, and then the runner-up was 122.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, good stuff. And finally, I managed to, in about 15 minutes, play a digital game of Scythe, 2-player, just with the computer. I won. I did fine. That's my story. Actually, I clobbered him. He got 21. I got 63.
I like that you made it sound like it was a chore almost, or like a menial task.
Well, I wanted another game to be able to talk about. It was like, well, I got 15 minutes. Scythe can be fast. Let's just do it.
I feel like that degrades or kind of devalues what it means when you say you've played games. Then where you're like, I have to have more. I have to have more. So I'll just 15-minute game aside. Yeah. But good for you. I'm glad you won, Cody.
I'll stop doing that. I'll just play games to play games.
Well, I mean, did you have fun?
I did have fun.
Then
Actually,
what does it
it's
matter?
been a while since I played Digital Scythe.
Then what does it matter if you had fun?
Yeah, exactly. Stop mocking me.
Whose side are you on? Anyways?
I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. Roll a d20. You failed. The orc pushes you off the cliff because you're a klutz.
Aragorn was not a klutz.
Well, this is a D&D reference, man. I'm talking about Lord of the Rings, even though it is cool.
Very.
Enough about this. What we got next, man?
We need to talk about a game, Cody. A game by Martin Wallace.
Yes.
The only game that either of us has ever played?
No, Anno 1800 is also by Martin Wallace.
The only game that either of us has ever played by Martin Wallace, Brass Birmingham.
Hey, come on, man. It's not like I'm selling Anno 1800 right now.
I feel like game might be a generous term for Anno 1800.
The art in that game is just sad. But, nah.
It's just a rough game in general. Like, the concept is there. And like, when you described the game to me, I could tell you were excited about it and I was interested by it. Mm-hmm. And then we played it and it was just like,
it was not.
Man, it's just, there's not a lot of fun in the box.
Good concept, bad execution.
I would agree. Yeah. Brass is nothing like that.
Good concept, good execution.
Very good execution. And pretty much every area other than could there have been some way to streamline the setup? Like just some way, you know?
Maybe, but when you play Anno 1800, it's not so bad.
Yeah, okay, well, I guess
you're like,
put
okay,
into
this is
perspective.
fine.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
I guess probably for people that play Martin Wallace's games, it's not that bad. Because I know he's done a couple train games that I feel like are probably just a big headache to set up. So
did he do Russian railroads?
I don't know. He did some train games.
What's the train
I
game?
don't know too much.
I'm gonna pull up his BGG right now.
I feel like he does kind of the drier, crunchier games. Like not like all of his games are like that, but in my mind, that's kind of what I associate with him.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I'm looking through Martin Wallace's list. We got Railways of Nippon, which I believe is what the Japanese call their own country. So it's right. Lincoln. Yeah, I really don't recognize any of these, man.
Huh.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I know he's an avid designer, for sure.
Wow, 6 games in 2018.
Huh.
But only 1 in 2020.
Was that Anno 1800?
Oh, actually, yeah, it was. How about that? But anyway, Brass Birmingham. That being said, I guess Martin Wallace did make a kind of a second chance because he made Brass Lancashire, which is also rated really high in Board Game Geek.
Is,
but then he remastered it with Brass Birmingham.
Do you know how similar they are? Obviously, neither of us has played Lancashire, but...
I'm not really sure. I think they are significantly similar, is my understanding, but there's certain things that have been tweaked, like I think the double build action for building rails in the rail era like didn't used to cost beer. So it's
really minor things.
Well, from my understanding, reading about that part specifically, that was kind of a broken action in Lancashire because it was just really, really powerful. And so they tried to dim it down a little bit in Brass. So probably things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Balancing issues, perhaps.
But it's interesting because Lancashire is still so highly rated.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a broken game necessarily.
I want to know why it's still so highly rated, especially because Brass exists.
Well, why would it drop? Like, it's not going to drop because people are rating it lower, right? It'll only drop if other people are rating other games higher.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So I think it kind of makes sense that it is where it is. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the only reason it would get bad ratings is if people played Birmingham first and then played Lancashire. They were like, well, this isn't as good as Birmingham. So yeah. But yeah, I don't see any other reason why it would get down voted. so to speak.
Well, yeah, I guess I would just think that, I mean, how long has it been out? Lancashire now. I feel like 2007, and it's still ranked 20. Like, if it's been out that long, I would think that a lot of other games would have been pushed up over it.
That must mean that it has a really high, like
cult following?
Well, I was going to say, like, it must have a really high review to view count ratio, because from what I know, that's kind of probably how BGG does their rankings, is you have to have high reviews, like high ratings, obviously, but also the number of ratings is also factored in.
Sure.
So I'm assuming it has a very good ratio of that. Like I said, like, I don't think people are playing Lancashire anymore that haven't played it before. You know? Like, how many people are busting out Lancashire for the first time, or teaching it to people for the first time? If Brass Birmingham really replaced it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of got its fixed position until other games are just rated higher than it, right?
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if you can even still buy it now. I mean, is it even in production or print?
I would guess used copies only. Secondhand, I guess I should say.
Yeah, BGG has like.
So why don't you go through Birmingham a little bit? Just kind of what it's like.
Yeah, Brass Birmingham, you've got a map set up of a given region I don't know anything about in England. And there's a city called Birmingham and a bunch of other cities. Not Lancashire, though. I'm not sure where that relates on the map. And this is a networking game. I guess I haven't really played any other networking games that I can think. Oh, I played Concordia, and that's a networking game.
Do you include Underwater Cities? I feel like a fool for saying it, but not really, because that's not the core of the game. So it's not a networking game. It just has a networking aspect.
More of an expansionism game, but Brass, it's all about where can you get to. Underwater Cities, you just have a bunch of blank spots you can build on.
I mean, there's a couple things you network to, but that's not really important.
Yeah, it's not really the core, or even the simple, smaller core, the inner core, like the Earth. The nucleus? Anyway, yeah, that's what Brass is. You play through two different eras, because you're playing over the course of about 100 years. You're starting like late 1700s, going into the mid to late 1800s, I believe. And the first era, you can only lay down canal tokens to connect your different cities. In each city, there's different industry boxes that allow you to place specific industry tiles according to what are on those cities. I think the biggest city is like Birmingham, literally, and it has, I think, just 4 slots. And then, depending on where you built, you can expand to other places through the canal. And then at the end of the canal era, all your canals get taken off the board, and those are your connections between the cities. So now you have to start again from wherever you already have certain tiles already placed, and then you can start building rails in the rail era. So it's almost sort of a double networking system, where you do it and then you erase everything that is unworthy.
Yeah, there's
and then
there's a hard reset in halfway through the game where all of your level 1 structures and all of your canals just get wiped off the board. You score them, and then they're off the board.
Yes.
And
so
then
they still count for something.
Yeah, you start over in kind of a more advanced era, right? And that's kind of the other thing in the game, is you have all these tokens on your board that you, like, there's like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different types. And they go from like very basic versions up to very good versions of them that give you more points and stuff. But you have to obviously start with the basic ones. And so you're kind of trying to burn through those and build them and use them as quickly as possible to get to the further down you get, the better, because you're producing things that produce more resources and give you more points. So,
which is weird, because it's definitely a resource-driven game.
Yes.
But there's only basically 3 resources. You've got coal, iron, and beer. I guess coin. But you don't personally really keep those resources, at least off the board. Again, it's all about networking. So you place tiles that will do a one-time production of a given number of resources. So you put down a coal mine, and you'll get 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 5 coal stacked on it. But as soon as you use up that coal, which you have to be connected to whatever location you want to use the coal to build something else, that's all the coal you got from that spot. Then it flips over and it will score points, which is good at the end of the game. But then if you want more coal, you have to build more facilities, which is interesting.
Or steal other people's coal. Not really steal
others,
but just use other people's coal. Sometimes it feels like stealing, because sometimes you're really trying to plan on using your own your own coal or your own beer, and someone else uses it. But
which
a lot of times
hurt.
it's like, hey, you used it, that's fine. I get to flip this over and I'll score points and whatever, you know.
Well, coal and iron's not so bad because you want to get those tiles flipped over anyway because
Sure.
they'll boost your income especially, and then you get more money to do things later in the game. It's really in the second half of the game, the rail era, when beer is a really rare commodity, rare resource, and you do not want other people to use your beer.
Yeah.
So you're like specifically building in ways to where other people can't connect to your network and you can use your own beer. I remember like last game I played with Kirsten, I think I had this big fancy plan to use like 3 beers, and then she was able on her turn, because each turn you take 2 actions. So if you literally play your cards right, you can try to time something where you take an action that sets you up to use all the stuff that you have. And she like built a rail and stole my stuff and was really mean.
So that there is also a card aspect to the game, which has a bunch of cards that have the different resource tiles you can build, and a bunch of cards that have a bunch of different locations.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only use those cards to do what you want to do. That can occasionally be frustrating, but I feel like you never walk away from a game of Brass saying the cards are the reason I lost.
Oh,
there are some
definitely
games.
not.
There are some games where you can say, "Man, that person really just got more fortuitous card draws than I did this game, and that was a kind of major factor in why they won."
Mm-hmm.
And you can honestly say that sometimes. Brass, I feel like sometimes it feels like in the game you're like, wait, no, why am I not getting a card I need? But I take it back actually, because you're dealt the cards. You have all the cards from the beginning, don't you? So even then it's like, okay, you know what you have to work with from the beginning.
Well,
so,
you have a hand of 8 cards, but you don't know the...
Yeah, but it's
well,
a lot.
Then there's a central deck that you're drawing from, so that is still neutral.
It is, yeah, but it's a lot. It's not like you have 2 cards and you're just drawing, one and using one or something. So,
but the thing is, there's like 4 or 5 different main actions that you take, and only one of those actually requires a specific card to play, whether it's a location or a given industry type, and that's just to put a tile on the board.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just throwing away a card to build stuff.
But that's a big part of the game. Like, that's the biggest part of the game.
Oh, sure. I'm just
tiles.
saying, though, that you're not necessarily hurt if you don't have the greatest cards, because you're going to be basically just throwing away probably 2/3 of them over the course of the game. Maybe more, not really sure. And then there's an action of the game where you can discard a couple of cards and then draw some wild cards that let you place anywhere. So if you really get cornered, you can at least get those.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point that you will end up discarding a lot of cards. That's a good way to mitigate luck of the draw, right? You can't control what you get, but you won't need a lot of what you get anyways. And so there's a good chance that you will still draw what you need. Your silence... Yeah, I don't know if that made sense. Like, you're not responding, and I feel like I didn't quite know where that sentence ended. I know where it started, but I don't really know.
Do you know where sentences do?
Yeah, well, I'm sure the listener understands.
Yeah, well, basically your point is invalid.
Well, okay.
But nah, you're right. But you're not.
So, do you have anything with this game that you feel like needs to be better or could be better? And neither of us has played Lancashire, so it's hard to speak on what has already been improved.
Sure.
And that's already kind of a telling sign that probably there isn't a lot if it's already kind of a second edition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you would hope there wouldn't be a lot.
Man, there's really not much, or if anything, that comes to mind. Almost what I think of for Brass. I don't know if you've heard the concept with firearms. People might complain like, oh, I need to get a longer barrel so I have better accuracy and stuff at distance. But the concept is that it's really hard to outshoot your weapon. Usually, if you're missing, the problem is the shooter and not the gun. I think Brass Birmingham is kind of the same way. The game is so tight mechanically. There's so many things that can happen. It's magnificently intricate to where if you're not playing well, it's entirely the player's fault and not the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. It is hard. It is pretty stressful, but it is a very rewarding challenge to play. That's what I have to say. How about you? Do you have any complaints?
Well, I would say actually very similar to that, which is that because it is such a kind of brain-burning, difficult endeavor to undertake, I don't know. I've only played it. I guess I've only played it twice, actually. but it feels like a game that it is a lot of fun, and I have a ton of respect for the design and how everything works together and just how solid and airtight it really is. And so like functionally and even aesthetically, it's really top notch. It's top shelf for sure. I feel like it's not as fun as I want it to be, you know? And it's a very good game, and I do get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's almost hard to articulate because it's just kind of like a personal, like, it's just not as much fun as I want it to be. And it's still really good, and I would still rank it very highly. And like I said, I mean, mechanically and aesthetically, it just is really kind of airtight. It really is such a flawless game almost. It's just, I feel like I almost wouldn't even want to own it because I feel like I would just come back to it so rarely. Yeah.
I think, Nate, you just need to play it more. Because let me describe to you my Brass Birmingham journey, all right? Picture this. A young boy of 22 or something. I don't know when I first got it. I saw that it was number 4 at the time on Board Game Geek. I'm like, that's really high. And then I got the game and I played it. I'm like, okay, this is a good game and it's cool, but I'm really confused why it's so high on Board Game Geek next to something like Terraforming Mars or Gloomhaven. What else we got here? I mean, Scythe is way up there, Castles of Burgundy. It seems like a niche game, like a very niche game, to where the people that like it probably like it a lot, but I wouldn't think that it would have a lot of popularity necessarily. Just because the game is so intense without necessarily much fluff to it. And now I'm looking at it, it's Board Game Geek number 2. It rose a couple of steps. It's second only to Gloomhaven. But I think my conclusion is, as I've played time playing this game, and granted, I probably only have like 10 plays of it at this point.
That's a fair amount.
That is a lot more than 1 or 2.
Especially for a game like Brass.
Yes, definitely. But I spent time before the last couple of games I played, watching some strategy videos, looking up in-depth strategy for it. And it was actually by doing that I felt like I become educated to the deep beauty of Brass, of how intricate it is, how once you start discovering some of these strategies that you can employ, ways to work the game, suddenly your scores, I think my high score literally like doubled from what my previous high score was in the game. Maybe it was like 80 points higher, I forget. But it's just crazy what you can do with the game, and my respect for it grew like the same amount. And I think maybe what's going on here is the people that have played the game at least a couple of times probably really get into it, and then it's almost this cult following that perhaps just perpetuates and spreads to the geek game board community. Yes, I did say that backwards.
I feel like I can't see myself falling into that. It's the kind of game that I would want to come back and play every once in a while, and I'll need a little refresher on, how the networking works and whatever, and then I will thoroughly enjoy the process. But after I finish a game of it, I'll be like, yeah, that was a lot of fun, and this is such a good game. But like, let's leave that on the shelf for a while, and maybe I'll come back to it in a few months, and hey, then it'd be fun to play again. I feel like for me, it's not the game that I would want to keep coming back to again and again. Like, I do respect the design, and I see what's there, and I know we kind of last time we played, which was pretty recently, we kind of talked about some of the, I don't know, revelations is not really the right word, but some of the discoveries you made strategically, about how to work the game a little bit better. And it's such a good design, and I feel like a broken record here kind of, but it just doesn't quite, I don't know, what is the something my fancy? What is that saying? Trick my fancy? No.
Tickles
tickle
your fancy?
It doesn't quite tickle my fancy, I guess, is all it is. So,
well, what's weird about this? My wife Kirsten, this is her favorite game. Like this is her number 1 game, and she stands by that.
Yeah, and it's heavy.
Is weird. Yeah, it is a very heavy game. I mean, the She kind of likes Terraforming Mars, but it is fairly intense, I think, for her liking, especially if you have like a 4-player game going and there's a lot going on. You have to.
But in comparison to Brass,
well, yeah, that's what's weird to me. I'm not
Right?
really sure why, but again, I feel like that just helps paint the picture of, for some reason, people can just love this game, unless you're Nate.
Oh wow, okay, man, just no shortage of personal body shots here. I feel like there's actually a very interesting almost phenomenon, which is it almost unable to be really comprehended, which is that there are just some games that click with certain personalities, and maybe not even personalities, but certain I don't know, mental
nationalities.
No, mental inclinations. Just the way that somebody's brain works and the things that they like and the things that they get enjoyment from. Games are such an interesting thing because they engage your mind so much on such a deep level, if it's a good game, that sometimes, almost inexplicably, there are games for certain people that they just fall in love with, almost like an addiction in a way. And sometimes it works that somebody's just automatically super good at a game for no reason. I run into this a lot playing with my dad and with my brother a lot, which is that there are just a couple of games that I always win, pretty much. Not always, but I win the majority of
when
I play with
Nate,
them.
be honest.
And then there are other ones that my brother, it's like, yeah, Reagan just wins that game more often than we do, and we don't really know why, and we've played it a lot of times that it's an established statistic that there's a very good chance that Reagan's going to win this.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, certain games are just that way for certain people, and I think it works the same way with liking. I think it trips something in certain games. The way that they engage a person's mind, there are some people's minds that are just really drawn to certain games for that reason. Not to get all psychological on, but that's just kind of the way I see it.
So you're saying some people are just like, yeah, I like coal, I like iron. Give me this game.
That's an actual audio clip from Kirsten last week.
Although I just had this revelation, epiphany, confusion moment, if you will.
Revelatory, epiphanical, confusing moment.
Eureka-ish. Except it's not that. It's more just confusion. Why is it called Brass Birmingham? The commodities are coal, iron, and beer. Brass is none of those things.
Brass Birmingham.
I don't even
and the
know
other
where
one
brass
was called
comes up in the
Brass
game.
Lancashire.
Yeah.
So what's
with the brass?
Are we stupid?
Probably. There's got to be something we're missing.
Brass.
I'm going to click on the game.
I don't know, is like that era of kind of
nothing.
industrialism, I don't know, symbolized somehow through brass? Was brass a very popular material that was being used for things back then?
Here's what I got. Maybe Martin Wallace didn't actually want to make this game, but Roxley Games was like, no, you have to make it. And so to mock them, since it came from the top brass, he was like, I'll call it Brass Birmingham and no one will like it.
I didn't quite follow you on that whole journey there, Cody.
Well, that's how we're here.
Okay.
That's why it's Brass Birmingham. BGG number 2. Not a sponsor.
Well,
if you'd like to be, you have our contact email.
definitely a phenomenal game, Brass is. If you know somebody who owns Brass, I would highly recommend. The thing is, if somebody owns Brass, they probably like it, right? It's almost certainly a game that if somebody still owns, they probably like a lot, and they probably want to teach you. So if you know somebody who owns Brass, hunt them down, and they would probably love to teach you the game. So would highly recommend, learning how to play this game, because it really is a very good experience, and a very unique experience.
I second that, and so does BGG.
All right. Well, let us move on then, Cody, to our board banter.
Yes.
So our board banter, as hinted earlier, is dealing with upgrades for games. And upgrades, I suppose, could potentially have different ways of being defined, but I feel like mostly we are talking about non-utilitarian upgrades to games. So kind of the fluff, or what might be called blinging out your game, or the additional aesthetical parts to games.
Or sometimes practical innovations.
Practical innovations?
Yeah,
in
man.
what way?
Like organizers.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes.
Game trays, stuff like that.
Basically things that you don't need for a game that aren't necessarily adding extra content, but you can still get them. So
Where are you going with this, man?
I just introduced this whole thing, and then I hit just a dead end. And I was like, well, here I am at the end of the street. Here we are. Yep, look at all these things I just said.
And this has been Tabletop Shop. Thank you for joining us. It's all gone horribly wrong.
Take it from here, Cody.
Okay, game upgrades. We're just here to banter about it, man. Let's talk about some stuff.
How about we talk about, I feel like the obvious question here is how much do you value upgrades for games like this?
That's actually a good way to phrase it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going to approach. Like which upgrades would you prioritize? Which would you get, if any? Especially if you're on a budget. Like, are you going to get upgrades for your favorite game, or are you going to just buy a different new game instead?
Yeah, I feel like you and I probably have maybe not very different, but I feel like we have quite different approaches to this. And I feel like you probably have seen that in us as well, which is that actually, off the top of my head, honestly, okay, so I do sleeves because to me, I do sleeve some games, and not every game, because not every game needs to be sleeved. And I don't want to lose the tactile part of a game if I don't have to. So a game where the cards get shuffled a lot, I want to sleeve those cards to protect the game. If the cards aren't being shuffled a lot, then I don't want to sleeve them because I like being able to feel the cards. You know, it's a little more natural. I like that a lot. But I don't know, I have a few games in my collection like Dominion, Dune, what else? Oh, Terraform. No, actually, I have not sleeved Terraform.
Oh, really?
Mars. There's way too many
That would
cards
take
in
a
that
while,
game, bro.
man.
Yeah, there's way too many cards. But it also, I don't know, Terraforming Mars, the quality's pretty crap anyway, so I just, if the cards got so bad, I'd just buy another copy, honestly.
It can't be fixed.
Yeah. So I do sleeve some games, but other than that, I feel like I don't really do these kinds of upgrades to things. I don't buy upgraded components for resources. I don't buy other replacement pieces for things. I don't buy organizers necessarily. Actually, I sometimes take the organizers out and throw them away if I have to. So I feel like I am very much of the mind that like, if I'm going to spend X amount of money, why don't I just put it towards, an expansion or, just another game or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess I just find myself kind of wanting the content more than the, I don't know. How would you say? The content more than the
Enhancers?
Yeah, sure.
I mostly agree. I am mostly similar because if I'm on a budget, which I am, and really everyone's on a budget. Budget is just how much money you're willing to spend on something.
Who are we kidding?
Sure. I'm going to usually just buy a new game, but sometimes if maybe it's a special occasion like birthday or Christmas, I might request an upgrade for a favorite game, or I'll just go all in a given month. Like I did for Underwater Cities one time. Like, this is my number one game. I want to make it excellent. So I got card sleeves for everything because I want to keep those cards nice. Got, the upgraded worker tile thingies, replace those useless elevator door mechanism
those are really dumb.
tiles.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
I got the little 3D printed submarines. Those are awesome. I got the 3D printed, credit chips. Although here's the weird thing. I like the feel of them, but the color of them is dimmer. It's like a very dull.
It's like stone ground mustard.
Yeah, and I actually miss kind of the brighter yellow color of the chip tokens. So I almost want to just go on Etsy again and try to see if someone else has made something similar but superior. And we'll talk about Etsy more later because they're an excellent location for finding good game upgrades for almost any popular game that's out there. But yeah, I mean, that's basically how I operate.
Have you bought any organizers for games? And we're talking like box inserts that make storing your game easier.
I did for viticulture, actually. I got the, what is it called? Like EV foam or something. It's nice. It definitely fits everything in the box better because the viticulture original organizer is garbage. It's got this weird circular indent that I cannot for the life of me figure out what it's supposed to be used for. Like nothing fits there usefully in any way. I mean, I guess you can throw some bags in there, but then you have these other slots that look like they're supposed to use the bags, and then you have the card sections.
The
And
card section's all screwed up in that box
It just
too.
makes no sense. Like nothing fits right. So I threw that away, and I got the little one where you assemble all the little foam containers, and they all fit together really nice. I don't know if I'll do that again, though. I know there's what is it called? The Broken Token, I think, is a company
that's a
that
very
makes,
popular one.
Aren't they
for
like
sure.
laser cut wood?
Yeah, I think so.
pieces?
Like almost like burnt wood style.
That looks a lot nicer. I'm not sure if they come pre-assembled or if you have to assemble them, but the foam one that I got, you had to glue it together. Basically with just Elmer's glue is what they recommended.
Well, I think it's probably the same way for Broken Token.
Yeah.
Where like you kind of have the slits and everything that kind of slide into each other.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same way.
But at that point, you could probably use maybe a nice wood glue or something.
For sure, yeah.
The foam one, like it was hard to assemble. Like you try to fit everything together and it all just kind of falls apart. There's no good way to clamp everything down. So you kind of just have to hold it for like 5 to 10 minutes and then let go and hope it continues gluing.
You said you wouldn't do it again, probably. Would you say it was not worth the investment then for the viticulture one that you got?
I mean, I'm not going to switch it out for the old one.
Well, right.
Having the room created for the box is nice and having everything really nice and beautiful and organized. So I'd say it was basically worth it.
See, I feel like if I had an insert, like the viticulture insert, that almost like perplexes you while you're trying to put the game away and it just frustrates you, I would probably just toss it and then just put stuff in the box. Just put stuff on the box, you know. So,
sure.
and I've had to do that with games. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. Tapestry, Abyss, and Champions of Midgard, where because I got expansions, the base game insert was no longer useful. Like it just didn't work anymore, which is disappointing because all 3 of those games actually have very, very good inserts. But it was like,
that's right. Tapestry was pretty nice.
Tapestries is cool. Abyss has an amazing one. So Champions of Midgard also has a very good one. Well designed, fits everything nicely. But I had no problem either just tossing them out once I got the expansions because I wanted to keep everything in the same box.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about card sleeves, man. Backtracking just a little bit, but it fits in with fitting stuff in the box. Sometimes it doesn't work super well.
Dominion.
But
so Dominion, it's like they didn't know. I don't know. I don't know when card sleeving became a big thing in board gaming. I feel like it's been a big thing in card trading games for a while, like MTG and stuff. I think they've been sleeving for a long time. I don't know when it became a big thing in board gaming, but it definitely was after Dominion came out. Or Dominion didn't think it was going to be popular, one of the two.
Because the Dominion insert is actually pretty important. You have, like 20, 25 plus different types of cards, and then 10 of each of those cards, and those all need to go in their nice, pretty little slot, and it's alphabetically organized with these labels. It's really nice. And then you sleeve all your cards, and like, this doesn't fit anymore.
Just don't quite. They all just kind of stick
small.
up a little awkwardly.
And it's atrocious. So at that point, you're kind of just screwed because I guess you can throw away the insert and now just bag everything, but then you're going to have to, anytime you want to use a card, you have to go find it.
We had quite a few not copies, but like Dominion and the expansions for Dominion growing up, and we always sleeved them and we just jammed them back in there.
It worked?
It worked. Like they fit.
Wow.
It's just like they don't fit nicely. It's very, very tight and snug, and usually they don't go down all the way. You can still close the box, but honestly, the thing about Dominion is that if you're getting lots of expansions for Dominion anyways, inevitably you're gonna get rid of all those and buy a big box that they all fit in. So like we got a big like wooden briefcase basically that's an organizer for Dominion. I'm serious, dude. It's a hefty like briefcase that's like it's probably like 2 feet by 1.5 feet.
Ding.
Maybe that's a little big, but it's basically like that, and then like 6 inches fat too. And it's just got like quite a few rows in it and a bunch of dividers, and you just put all your cards in there. Way easier than toting around, 4 or 5 full-size game boxes just for one game.
There you go, man. Custom game upgrade right there.
Yeah.
Put that on Etsy.
For sure. Well, I think we bought it off of like eBay or something.
All
Somebody
right,
else had
resell
already
it
done
on Etsy. Sure.
But okay, so that's actually, I guess I didn't buy that, but if I was in that position with those Dominion copies, that is definitely something I would do. That doesn't add anything to the game, but it almost feels like a necessary, tertiary purchase for the game.
You get backed into a corner.
Kind of.
That's what Dominion does to you. I want to talk about bags, man. I think you do the same. I'm not sure how many of you listeners do the same, but what I will do, you'll notice whenever you get a new game, it's like they have twice as many bags as you need, and all the bags are 8 times as big as you need them to be for the things they hold. And they're usually pretty nice. So what I do is I just save those bags, and I have a box just full of
Box of bags.
Yeah, and I have them sorted, like here's all the big bags, here's
Yeah.
the medium, small, and tiny. And then when I get a new game, and fairly often you'll get games that have these now chintzy bags.
Dude, Underwater Cities. Talked about their quality
Underwater
last time.
Cities bags are pretty bad.
They're trash.
But you get you some Stonemeyer bags. Those things are nice. They've got like a texture to them. They're solid. And you move those over. If you saved them beforehand, saved your extras, you can re-implement those for other games that you get. Pro tip, start doing it. Do you do that?
Yeah. So I definitely do the same thing. I keep all the extra bags, and I also like the components to fit just perfectly in whatever bag they're going in. You know, I don't want a bunch of extra space in a bag, and I don't want to be like barely jamming everything into a bag, right?
Did I send you that picture of when I got Kingdom Builder? And you got like, I don't know, 20, 25 little pieces, and then the bag they give you is literally, it's like 8 to 10 inches tall. And when you fill it with all the pieces, it's just stupid, is what it is, man. It's stupid. Don't do that.
Have you even played Kingdom Builder yet?
Yeah. Well, I already sold it. That was a while ago, man. I played it once and I was unimpressed. It was not
I heard
what
that,
I thought it was going to be.
I heard that Kingdom Builder, like whatever, Winter Kingdom or something like that. It's basically the second edition. I heard it's a lot better.
Is it?
Yeah. Same core, but the wrinkles were ironed out. And
I'm intrigued, man, but I don't want to get hurt again.
Yeah, well, I heard it's a much better experience than the original game.
I'll let you buy it and then we'll try it out.
It's actually on my, like, it's something I've been looking at. Yeah.
All right, I'll buy it for you for Christmas and then you can try it out.
Not before I move, please.
No, you got it.
I also wanted to ask about cards. How do you store cards?
How do I store cards?
In the box. Do you bag them or do you rubber band them?
I do not rubber band. I feel like bags are safer. I know the cards can kind of slide around more that way, but I'm afraid of bending the cards with rubber bands. And, you know, when you like work with rubber bands for a while, your hands then just smell bad after. You ever notice that? Rubber bands have a weird, not very good smell.
Yeah, they do have a bad smell.
I don't want the cards to smell like that.
Sure. Oh, okay. I never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? You're a rubber bander, aren't you?
I do rubber band a lot of cards. Yeah, I'll bag some. Actually, I feel like the only ones I really have rubber banded are Terraforming Mars, because I don't really care about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds bad. I've played that game to death, and I think it's a great game. I just don't like it's such a low quality production that I'm really not like invested in trying to take care of it either, so I don't really care. And I also have Dune rubber banded, but the cards are also sleeved. So I have kind of loose rubber bands on them that are tight enough that keep them from like not coming out of the rubber band, but not so tight that they're going to bend the cards or something.
Okay, so you pick a good strength.
Yeah, and I feel like most of my other games I have them bagged actually. So
well, here's the thing: the rubber bands. It's not just the tactile component and the smell, but it just doesn't look good to me. When I open up a box, if I have things rubber banded, which I don't anymore because I just don't do that, it just looks like I got the game at a garage sale and it makes me sad. I don't like it, man.
Dude, the experience I had with that was when I got Terraforming Mars. Dude, it's shrink wrapped. I take the shrink wrap off, like I unwrap it, open the box, and it literally looked like a secondhand copy. Like it looked like everything had kind of just been tossed in there. It was insane.
That's sad.
Yeah, no insert, no nothing. Everything was just like rolling around in the box. Yeah. So I feel like every episode I feel like I could find a way to make fun of Terraforming Mars. I'm really not trying to do that. Jason Isaac Frizelius, whatever your name is. But fine game, good game.
Just produce it better.
Well, and they did with Ares Expedition.
Oh, but here's the thing, man. Not in the second printing of it.
Yeah, you told me.
It's not like a second edition. I guess I got whatever the first printing was, I assume, and you've got these, I can't even remember now. It's like this nice insert. The boards are
inlaid.
They're the inlaid, like scythe style double boards. I feel like there's something else I'm missing that they did. But then we played it at a friend's house that had got it after us. And the boards they used were just little flimsy like pieces
the
of paper.
Terraforming Mars ones.
Basically, yeah, it was real sad. There was another component I can't remember that was inferior. And I don't know why Stronghold Games did that. It's like you look it up and the game's still the same price. So it's like they just reproduced the same game, but
I don't know, man.
For much cheaper production value.
I don't want to, assume things, but like maybe it's just like they wanted to save some money and they figured people wouldn't care enough.
Maybe.
But I feel like Terraforming Mars was infamous for being such low production quality.
Yeah, man.
And it is weird that when they did Ares Expedition, it had a higher quality, and then they reverted back to making worse copies of it.
Oh, I remember the other thing. The first copy of it, it had these included little game tray thingies that you can both store
and those are
the
awesome.
pieces in. And the second production didn't have them.
It's so weird.
It was like
it?
they just took out some of the
wonder-
best productions of the game. And
I wonder if Stronghold Games, when they produced it, I wonder if after they, after their quarterly whatever, if they looked at their profit from that game specifically and they were like, yeah, we're not doing as well as we thought we would.
Guys,
Let's
we gotta
cut
cut some
costs on
costs."
production. I wouldn't be surprised, because why else would they do
Let's do the next one out of China.
it? But I mean, why else would they do it, right? If not to save money.
Oh, of course. It's just sad.
It is, and it
feels
is annoying.
disloyal to the fan base.
After producing a good version, yes, it's like, dude, come on, just if you're gonna do it that way, then just don't even bother. Make them all bad, like you did Mars.
Maybe even market it too. It's like, this is a different printing, slightly inferior version.
Yeah, but then people are going to be like, well, I'm not going to pay the same price then that other people paid for theirs.
Yeah.
I'm only going to pay less. And then if they charge less, it's like, well, you didn't solve your problem then, right? Because you cut production costs to make money, but if then you're selling it for less, you're not making any money anymore.
I'd just be really disappointed though if I played the original
would.
copy at someone's house and I'm like, oh, this is a great game, and I went and buy it. I'm like, but where's my cool inserts?
Dude, I had that. This is a tangent. I had that problem buying shoes once. Like, I bought these Puma shoes that had memory foam on the bottom as part of the shoe. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. They're so cool. So I bought another pair online, a similar one, also Pumas, that said they had memory foam, but it was just a memory foam insert that was not the same material. And I emailed them. I was like, hey, I just bought this other pair that had this really nice version of this. Why is this one just an insert? And they're like, yep, some of them have the insert, some of them don't.
What?
And I was like, what? That's not an answer. What is this, the second printing?
Wow. That's sad.
So, similar experience. Yeah. Are there any other points you wanted to hit about upgrades for games?
I made a promise earlier in the podcast to talk about Etsy, and I should bring that back up again.
Yeah, the
Etsy is a beautiful place where people make quality things. Generally. But here's the thing. It's capitalism at its finest. If people make a crappy thing, people will not review it well. And then people learn that they need to make a good thing and sell it at a good price to people. And Etsy is just a surprisingly good resource to get board game upgrades there. Practical upgrades. There's probably organizers and whatnot. I'm sure
there is, yeah.
There's a lot of 3D printed pieces. If you're tired of little cardboard tokens, 100%, 99% Etsy is going to have a 3D printed version of those
Don't
tokens.
go looking for your Era of Kingdoms upgrades.
I want a Monopoly upgraded hotel. Actually, those probably exist.
That's probably the first thing was on there, Cody.
Dang it. I would like real money for Monopoly. They probably don't have that. Let me know in the comments if you find that. And let me know how much it was.
It is a good resource for sure. Coming from the person who just said they never buy this stuff.
Yeah. I got some brass upgrades.
Yeah.
From there.
The brass upgrades are awesome too, man.
They're nice. I mean, the
makes the box a lot heavier.
Yeah,
sure.
well, the iron, like you pick those up, those I think are actual metal. They're heavy, man.
It's like just cast iron pieces.
Yeah, and even the coal. The coal, I think, is just a polymer or resin or whatever you call that plasticky substance, but it's still dense. It's like it's a good quality and it's heavy. So if you really like a game, if you have a favorite game, and you're willing to invest some extra money into making it your collector's edition game, Etsy is the place to go. This is not a sponsored ad. But again, Etsy, if you want to, hit us up.
Us.
At tabletopshop23@gmail.com.
Hey, yeah, if you want to say anything to us about the podcast, we would love for you to reach out to us at tabletopshop23@gmail.com.
I said that, man. I said that.
Hey, you got to say it twice. That's like an industry.
Okay.
Like, you got to say it twice every time. I know I've only said it once the past few episodes.
Now you definitely will not forget tabletopshop23@gmail.com.
That's kind of like the typical infomercial thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's the 8th time you said the phone number.
1-800-399-2424.
And it's on the screen. Like, we get it, you know. But yeah, if you want to email us at tabletop, no, I'm just kidding.
Shut up, man.
We're also on Instagram at Tabletop Shop 23.
Yeah.
You can also find us on Facebook, Tabletop Shop. Yeah, like I said, we would love for you to reach out to us and just let us know how you feel about the podcast. If there's anything we should do differently, or if you just want to reach out and say, hey, you guys are doing a great job, we would, of course, appreciate that. Think about it. If you do something and somebody just notices that you did something and they liked it and they're just kind of pat you on the back, they're like, hey, dude, you did a good job there. That's pretty cool. That's a very dank thing.
It feels good.
Yeah. It
You're
does.
like, I'm ready to wake up the next morning.
So you know what? Gosh dang it, people, make us feel good.
Please.
But also, if you want to add, like, hey, it would be cool if you guys did this in the podcast. You know, we would love to just kind of hear feedback and suggestions and whatnot. So
Sure, board banter topics.
for
we'll
sure.
need lots of those.
Yeah.
So send them our way.
If you're like, come on, guys, what are you doing talking about upgrades? There's way better things to talk about. Well, then you better get on that email right now. You better start typing away, all right? You better tell us. The burden is on you now, not on us.
And remember, Birmingham is only connected to Redditch by rail. Thanks for listening, folks. This has been the Tabletop Shop Podcast. Our episodes come out every other Wednesday, which is 2.17 times a month for you nerds. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. In the meantime, keep on playing games.